This episode contains discussions of violence, war trauma, psychological manipulation, and morally ambiguous behavior. Listener discretion is advised. Some men wear the flag, others weaponize it. In the blood-soaked trenches of chaos and propaganda, two patriots rise, twisted, broken, and dangerous. John Walker, the decorated soldier turned government-sanctioned super soldier, the man who became Captain America, and then crossed the line. A man who wanted to live up to a legacy he could never truly inherit, and in trying to do so, cracked under the pressure. Edward Blake, the cigar-chomping, sadistic government assassin known as the Comedian, a man who sees the world as a cosmic joke, and laughs as he pulls the trigger. He doesn't kill out of hate. He kills because the system told him to, and then he laughed about it. Two symbols of American power, two reflections of violence justified by the stars and stripes. One believes in the lie. The other made peace with it a long time ago. Only one walks away. Welcome to Revenge and Madness Chaos Crucible, where ideals are shattered and icons fall like burning flags. Today's battle isn't about justice, it's about perception, and the fine line between patriot and pawn. John Walker is the government's attempt to sculpt a hero out of trauma, a man buried beneath medals, PR campaigns, and a shield that was never truly his. Edward Blake is what happens when you give a violent man permission to never feel guilt. A man who carried out unspeakable orders and then slept like a baby. This isn't just a fight. It's a slow-motion detonation of everything they claim to stand for, and a brutal reminder that sometimes the flag doesn't protect you, it blinds you. Let's break them down. Before the battlefield, before the bullets, there was the breaking point. John Walker began as a soldier's soldier, decorated, loyal, the embodiment of what America thought it needed, a hero forged in discipline and duty. But the pressure to live up to an impossible ideal fractured him. When handed the shield of Captain America, he didn't rise, he unraveled. He tried to emulate Steve Rogers with none of Steve's moral compass, and when the world didn't applaud fast enough, he made them watch, blood-stained and brutal. Walker doesn't see himself as the villain. He sees himself as the one left to make the hard calls. But that righteous fury? It's a mask. One cracked by trauma, shame, and the weight of a title he was never meant to carry. Edward Blake, on the other hand, never pretended to be a hero. He didn't carry the burden of morality. He torched it. As the Comedian, Blake worked as a government hitman, suppressing revolutions, silencing enemies, and doing what politicians didn't want fingerprints on. He knew the system was corrupt. He was the system's last laugh. Blake's mindset wasn't shaped by disillusionment. It was born from it. He believed the world was a sick joke, and the only honest thing left to do was laugh, in his own twisted way. Blake saw things clearly. Heroes didn't save the world. They enforced it. And your advantage here goes to Edward Blake. Walker fights to become the symbol. Blake knows he already is one, and he couldn't care less who salutes. In a war of identities, Blake's cynicism is armor, Walker's ideals, a target. When the masks come off and the bullets start flying, only one thing matters. Who's trained to survive the chaos? John Walker is a product of modern military excellence. He's not just strong. He's superhuman, enhanced to peak physical perfection. Before the serum, he was already a decorated war hero. After it, he became a force of nature. Walker's combat training included tactical strategy, close-quarter combats, weapon proficiency, and battlefield leadership. He's fought terrorists, super soldiers, and even fellow heroes. And when he loses control, that training doesn't disappear. It just becomes more dangerous. He's not elegant. He's not subtle, but he is a blunt instrument with a soldier's focus and a berserker's fury. Edward Blake comes from a different time, but he's no less deadly. Trained in military black ops, assassination, and guerrilla warfare, Blake's combat experience spans multiple decades, wars, and regime changes. He's an expert marksman, hand-to-hand fighter, and master of dirty tactics. Blake doesn't fight fair, he fights to finish. And don't mistake age for weakness. Even in his later years, Blake held his own against enhanced opponents and outmaneuvered threats with ruthless efficiency. He combines raw instinct with decades of tactical wisdom. Where Walker is raw power, Blake is lethal precision. One charges, the other one calculates. So in this instance, neither man get the advantage. Walker is the better brawler, enhanced, aggressive, and relentless. But Blake's been surviving combat since before Walker was born. In a contest of training, experience meets enhancement, and the scales stay balanced. Guns, shields, grenades, fists. These two don't just fight. They bring an entire armory to the battlefield. John Walker wields a vibranium shield, custom made, brutally effective. He's a close-quarters combatant who uses the shield not just as defense, but as a lethal weapon, throwing it with near-perfect accuracy and slamming enemies with superhuman force. His kit is modern, military, and efficient. Sidearms, knives, and body armor. Everything designed for urban combat and high-stakes operations. And with his enhanced strength and durability, he turns even improvised weapons into blunt force devastation. His tactics are direct, aggressive, and devastating. Overwhelm, dominate, and end it fast. Edward Blake, though, he's old school, but he's dirty. Shotguns, revolvers, smoke grenades, flamethrowers, sniper rifles. The man carries enough firepower to arm a small militia, and he knows how to use every piece. Blake's combat philosophy is simple. There's no such thing as overkill. If it explodes, burns, or leaves a crater, it's fair game. He also excels in psychological warfare. He'll taunt, bait, and confuse his opponent into making mistakes. He turns chaos into control, forcing the fight on his terms. So the advantage here goes to Edward Blake. Walker fights like a soldier. Blake fights like a war criminal. When it comes to tactics, Blake's unpredictability and disregard for the rules make him the more dangerous man. In this round, brutality beats protocol. If patriotism were a contest, both of these men would win, and then burn the trophy. John Walker is power wrapped in trauma, a man with too much expectation and not enough support. He's dangerous because he still wants to be the hero, even if he has to break everything to prove it. Edward Blake is the end result of what happens when heroism dies. He's detached, brutal, and fully aware of the horror he serves, and he serves it anyway. When it comes to a straight fight, Walker could overpower Blake. He's faster, stronger, and arguably more durable. But this isn't just a brawl. It's a psychological minefield. And Edward Blake doesn't step on mines. He lays them. And your winner here is Edward Blake. Blake may not be stronger, but he's crueler, smarter, and willing to play dirtier. And when it comes to the Chaos Crucible, that's enough to come out on top. 2 broken men, 1 broken system. John Walker is a rage wearing a mask. He's desperate to live up to something that doesn't exist anymore, if it ever did. And when the world doesn't applaud, he makes it bleed. Edward Blake never sought applause. He only ever wanted to tell the joke, louder, meaner, and with a body count. Walker is the man still trying to believe. Blake is the man who already knows. So who wins in the end? The man still clinging to the ideal, or the man who destroyed it and laughed in its face? That's the real tragedy, and that's the real madness. Thank you for joining us on Revenge and Madness Chaos Crucible. Stick around. Because next time, the battlefield will even be bloodier.